Right, hello! ShadowKey392 here, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. Now, in this episode, we are once again back in sandbox mode. Why? Because we've got to finish up the stuff we were doing with Warship 1. Which this is gonna be the last video I do about Warship 1, just because after what we do in this video, there will be no further reason to make videos about this for the time being. We'll be done with it. And I'll be able to move on to other things. Yay! Anyways, here's Warship 1 in space. We put it there in our first video, Warship 1 video, and then, well, you might recall, we detached the Mammoth engine, which was powering it up into space. Why did we do that? Because we figured that the RE-15 Skipper liquid fuel engine was more fuel efficient than the Mammoth was. And in space, efficiency is a pretty big deal, I think. So we got rid of it and replaced it with a Skipper, which we brought up with this ship, the propulsion launcher ship, which is still docked and is carrying Bill, Jeb, and Valentina. Scientist Bob is on the ground on Kerbin, waiting to come up with this next mission, while Phil Kerman is in command of Warship 1 in the PPD-12 Cupola module. So, at the end of our last video, like I said, we had brought up the Skipper, and actually we tested it, as I recall. We tested it using the fuel in this Kerbodyne S3 3600 tank. And it performed rather well. But keep in mind, that was only with this one tiny tank full of fuel. It had all of these 6 great big Kerbodyne S3 14400 tanks to fill up. They were all empty. Now, since I recorded that previous Warship 1 video, the second one that is, the one in which we delivered the engine, I have launched 5 out of 6 refueling missions to this thing, and on each mission I have filled up exactly one of these tanks, one of these giant Kerbodyne tanks. I've filled exactly one of them up with fuel with each mission. So today, we are going to launch the final refueling mission, and then, with that out of the way, we will put Warship 1 on its maiden voyage, which is probably not going to take it very far. At the very least, we'll switch orbits, I think. Anyways, time to meet the ship we'll be using for this mission. Right. So, here's what we'll be using. I built it quite a while ago for reasons not related to Warship 1. I'd actually designed it to refuel another ship, but I'll get into that later in a different video. Anyways, this is the fuel barge. This is the vessel we shall be using to get this one tank of fuel up to Warship 1. And as you can tell, probably, this thing is enormous. It's easily the largest space-going vehicle I have ever built in this game. I'm sure tons of other people out there have built things vastly bigger than it, but for me, this is as big as I've ever gotten. Engineering report. 452 parts. It weighs 3,872.6 tons. It is 64.6 meters high, 18.9 meters wide, and 18.9 meters long. So what will happen? Or what hopefully will happen? Hopefully, the first stage, there's no question of this happening. The first stage will ignite when we launch this thing. It'll burn, it'll get us off the ground a bit, then it will detach, at which point I will wait a few seconds for these parachutes to deploy and get the first stage a good distance away before I fire the second stage. The reason I want to wait before I fire the second stage is that Well, in the past, this first stage has had a habit of falling onto the launch pad and destroying it. And that's not good. I do not want that to happen. So I've stuck parachutes onto it, in the hopes that they will slow the falling pieces down enough to A, be recoverable once they land, so we can save money on them, and B, so that they won't be traveling so fast when they hit the launch pad, which they will hit the launch pad, that they do not. Hopefully the parachutes will slow them down enough that they won't destroy it, because launch pads are expensive and I do not like having to replace them. Anyway, the only problem with this idea is that this ship is so heavy that it takes a while to get going really fast. So by the time the first stage runs out of fuel and detaches, we'll probably only be going maybe 14 meters per second, maybe 20. I forget how much exactly, but it'll be around there. So, the inevitability is that we will wind up destroying some of these stage rockets with our boosters here. But by waiting a few seconds before we do so, before we fire the second stage, that should enable the first stage's parachutes enough time to open and get these things far enough away that the majority of them will not get blown up. So, after launching, the parachutes will open, the first stage will separate, the parachutes will open, then this ring of solid rocket boosters and the engines within them. By within, I mean these engines that they're attached to, of course, they'll fire and they will get us going again. They'll separate these two. The boosters will then separate these two boosters on the inside here. These, well, actually four. Well, yeah, four. These four boosters will fire and they'll put this thing into orbit. They will put this thing into orbit. Once we are in orbit, we shall detach them, as well as this stage, the center stage, at which point it will be just this thing, the barge itself, plus the tank of fuel. And that is what we will be attaching to Warship 1. Now, crewing this thing is going to be Bob Kerman the scientist. Not one of these two pilots. We don't need them, we've got MechJeb. And Bob's got some stuff to set up on Warship 1 anyhow. Right, Bob? So, enough of that. Now, it's been 7 minutes, almost 10 minutes, and we haven't even launched this thing yet. Good grief. Let's fix that. Alright, so to do this we're gonna do MechJeb. Normally with big rockets like this one I would not use MechJeb because MechJeb has a history of not ending too well with not mixing too well with the big rockets I've made. I've made, I think, 3. This one is one of them, and there's another which I'll show in a later video, and another which I will show in a later video. Well, in an even later video. I might just make one video showcasing all my big rockets, but that won't be today. Anyways, ascent guidance is on. Yes, I'm going to use MechJeb with this particular big rocket because, surprisingly, it actually works rather well with it. The only time it doesn't work is when it comes time for the first stage to separate. And the only reason it doesn't work there is that, well, it's got the predetermined delay time between stages, and I don't want to change that because that time is perfect for most of the rocket. The only stage it's not perfect for is the first stage, because, well, after 0.5 seconds, the first stage will be it'll still be too close to this thing, and the majority of it will get blown up, and what doesn't get blown up will no longer have parachutes because they'll have been burned off, and the launch pad will get destroyed when all of that debris falls onto it. So I will be piloting this thing manually in the meantime, I think. Yes. Yes, I will do that. I will do it manually. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Here we go. And now I know it doesn't look like anything's moving at all, but I assure you it is. It is moving. Very, very slowly. Hopefully it doesn't get hung up on one of these supports. Alright, we've cleared them. Good. Now we just need to wait until the first stage runs out. Then we'll wait a second or two for it to get a little bit of distance, and then we'll fire the second stage. And hopefully that will be enough to keep the launch pad from getting demolished. First 4 rockets are going to cut out a bit here. That'll be these two plus the 2 on the other side. We won't detach them though, because they're connected to the rest of the rockets up here, and we can't detach them without detaching the rest of the rockets. And now we're starting to lose speed. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a design flaw on my part. Anyways, looks like we're about to cut off at 33 maybe meters per second, 34. Alright, time to detach from this first stage. 19, well, yeah, we're losing speed really quickly here. Okay, I've got to launch the fires now. Hopefully that was enough. And I've engaged the autopilot. Good. Hopefully that was enough. Good. It looks like the majority of stuff got away in time. Hopefully that'll be enough to prevent this thing from, to prevent the launch pad from getting smashed to pieces. Oh, it wasn't. Well, yeah, that's one of the risks with this thing. And actually, that's probably the only risk. It has a habit of destroying the launch pad sometimes. I'd hoped that I'd given it the first stage enough time to get away without enough debris being created that the launch pad would not get destroyed. I'd hoped to avoid destruction of the launch pad. I'll just say that. Evidently we failed, and the launch pad is now on fire. Well, I'm sure the Space Center will take care of that. They've got some fire suppression teams who I imagine are pretty well trained by now, and pretty well experienced, given the number of times I've set buildings on fire. I'll bet the financial people are just shaking their heads and wincing now. They're really going to feel that destroyed launch pad in their wallets. I can tell you that. That's really gonna take a dent out of our budget to get that replaced, fixed up. But we can't worry about that right now. We've got a mission underway to worry about instead. And so far, that looks like it's all going well. We have ceased vertical ascent and have entered into our gravity turn stage, which hopefully will put us, well, actually no, not hopefully, it will put us into an orbit at an altitude of 200 kilometers or so, with an inclination of 0 degrees. Why? Well, why 200 kilometers when Warship 1 only orbits at 100 and something, I think? Well, because I want this done quickly. I don't want to spend a long time catching up to Warship 1, or rather having Warship 1 catch up to us. So, yes. I also, given the sheer size of this thing and the amount of time it takes to maneuver it, to go through maneuvers, I don't want to put it into an orbit below 100 kilometers, just because I don't want to risk it falling back into the atmosphere. I do not want to risk this thing falling back into the atmosphere, which it very well could if I were to try to set this orbit up to be at anything less than 100 kilometers. So yes, I decided on 200 instead. Now, I guess one thing I could have done with this launch is I could have used the MechJeb's launch to rendezvous feature, which, as I understand it, because I've used it only once before, and that was on this ship, when I was making a previous attempt to record this video. As I understand it, the launch to rendezvous feature of MechJeb's ascent guidance launches your ship onto a trajectory which will see it rendezvousing with a target in orbit. And I did give that a try, but there was a problem. The ship is too big for that, and, well, it's not aerodynamic enough. MechJeb got it going, and it actually did get it onto a trajectory heading out of the atmosphere and into an orbit. The only problem with it was that when the engines cut out to let this thing coast, its weight at the rear end, at the bottom, is heaviest at the bottom, like most rockets are, I think. But this thing is so heavy that it didn't want to remain positioned as it was. It wanted to flip itself around, and MechJeb kept on trying to correct it. It kept firing the rockets in little bursts at first, but then in longer and longer bursts, trying to get it under control and failing. And the end result was that this whole thing never did leave the atmosphere, and it just, well, parts of it burned up and exploded, and the rest crashed into the sea. And Bob died. So we couldn't have that. So we had to go back to the launch pad, and we had to try it the usual way. So this is how I've, well, this way, just launching it into space and then having it rendezvous from orbit. That's how I've done the previous 5 missions. And yes, I know it kind of seems like it's doing the same thing now, but trust me, it's done this before, and it worked. Alright, so those 2 engines are done now. Doesn't look like they damaged anything, that's good. All rockets are still firing. Good, good. That's actually kind of normal. Right, so far this is looking good. I know this thing is heating up. See, it did this last time too. Hopefully now that we're not launching to any sort of rendezvous, hopefully this will work. I can only hope. Big nose cone is overheating now. That's wonderful. Oh well, but from the look of things, it won't be long until we are, in fact, in an orbit. Hopefully this thing holds up long enough. That's definitely going to explode here. It's alright though, looks like this is still on course. Excellent. We shall now disengage the autopilot. For now. Hopefully this thing I'm about to do works and I don't have to set this all up again. Oh well. Hopefully the RCS thrusters bring this thing under control in time to start it up again. Looks like they should. Excellent. Now? Good. That has us set up to establish an orbit at 200 kilometers. Excellent. It is simply attempting to align itself here with our maneuver node. I don't want it to take so long to do that though, so did it extend? It did. It did extend the solar panels. Why did it do that? I don't know why it did that. It's not set up to right now. Anyways, I'm actually doing the turning this thing around here with their RCS thrusters. I'm overriding MechJeb at the moment. MechJeb does this sort of stuff too slowly for my tastes. Come on. Stop rotating. Stop it. Stop it. Not worried about monopropellant, I've got a lot of that. Okay, we're almost all stopped. Come on. You can do it. Excellent. MechJeb can do it from there, I think. Oh, I've been doing this for 30 minutes. Alright, there we go. Now we'll time warp over there. I was just wondering why these structural support connector thingies were there, but I remember now. I connected the rockets underneath them to the to these rockets. I connected the first stage rockets to these rockets for more stability. So yes, anyways, there we are now, and for some reason the solar panels have automatically deployed again, even though auto-deploy solar panels is not selected. Alright. Alright. Time, then, to, let's see. Believe RCS are firing. Yep, they're firing now, attempting to stabilize us. We'll wait for them to stop. We'll bring our solar panels back in too. We don't want them to get snapped off by a stage hitting them. And I think well, look at this. The central rocket, that's actually about half full. Actually, it's mostly full. And these four have 1 and a bit tanks full. So between them, if we were to transfer all their fuel to this central rocket, or this central bit, we would probably have quite a bit of fuel left. These two also have they're mostly burned out. But if we were to transfer all of this fuel into this rocket, we could go quite far. So, but we're not going to do that. I don't know how far this rocket could actually take us, but I mean to find out one day, and perhaps I'll be videotaping that too, or video recording. But for now, we're gonna drop these. Now would be the time when we'd dropped that nose cone that was covering this too, but it blew itself up into the atmosphere, so we don't need to. And now we detach ourselves and get ourselves moved out of there. Look at that design, though. Nice pattern. Anyways, we are now far enough away that we can deploy our solar panels. And we'll fire up the engine. And now, for this next bit... Rendezvous autopilot. Select a target. Oh. Yep. To rendezvous with. We want to rendezvous with that. Thanks. Desired final distance, 100 meters. That sounds good. Max number of phasing orbits, 50. Auto warp, yes. Engage. This thing is now much more maneuverable now that we don't have all of that weight on it, too. It's just about lined up now, and now we'll auto warp. Now we have a node in 2 hours and 48 minutes. And that's probably going to take a few minutes to auto warp too, because at this altitude, there's altitude restrictions. I'll leave it at that. You know that this ship cannot go that fast or time warp cannot be warped that fast at this altitude or below. I don't know why that is, but that's the case, and we've got to abide by that. Yes, it only lets us go at 100 times, so... Yeah, this will take, this will take over a minute. Over 2 minutes. Way over 2 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes. I may edit this out. Oh yeah. We've been at this for 40 minutes now. So yeah, I'll probably edit most of this catching up to this particular node stuff out. Right, now we're now on an intercept course. How close are we gonna get? 35.1 kilometers, pretty good. This is taking too long. I'm gonna override MechJeb here. There we go. That got things moving a little faster. Excellent. Now we are lined up and auto warping. there it is. There's the Warship 1 propulsion launcher ship, or Warship 1. Right there, 3.0 kilometers up. That's good. Good. Close to target. Plotting intercept. How close? 0 kilometers. Upcoming. Excellent. That's why I like to use MechJeb for this sort of stuff. It's faster and more accurate. Whereas if I were to do it, I'd spend like an hour or two trying to set up a good rendezvous, and it wouldn't be at 0. It would be more like, well, more like 5 kilometers apart. MechJeb, however, can get it right where you want it in a very, well, not necessarily short amount of time, but in a very decent amount of time. Probably less time than you would take to do it manually. Definitely less time than I would take to do it manually. And we've overshot our node by 7 seconds. So yes, I've just reset it a few times. Just so that MechJeb is able to fire this engine. He's able to fire our engines at the right time. Excellent, there we go. I think I'll set the thruster limit to maybe 50. There we go. That'll give us a bit more control, I think. Oh, what the heck. Let's give it full power. We will, of course, have to reduce the thruster limit once we get in really close, because I don't want this thing smashing into Warship 1 and having to redo this all over again. Which has happened when I've made previous attempts with the other refueling missions. One collided with Warship 1 and destroyed the entire thing. I see the map is having its usual fit at this point. I don't know why it does that. The squad should look into that and see if they can't fix that. It's kind of annoying when you're trying to plan maneuvers manually. Alright, given our closeness, I'm gonna set that to 50.5. I'd set it at exactly 50 if I could, but yeah, 50 is 50.5 is usually about as close as I can actually get it to 50. How are we doing there? Good. We're good for a monopropellant. Haven't even used up half of what's in our monopropellant tanks yet. Alright, never mind. We're closing on this thing so fast. Oh dear. Solar panels in. Excellent. All right now. Definitely gonna quick save there. Now, we are going to switch to this. I think we'll set that docking port as our target. Hope this doesn't smash those. Well, at any rate, we need to close those up anyhow. This thing will be good on electricity. Definitely. We need to close our solar panels up there so that we don't smash anything. And now, something, well, actually, docking autopilot. We'll control this from here, and we'll set that as our target. We will enable our autopilot now, and now we are moving towards the start point. moving pretty fast. Good, 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 good. We're turning now. Hopefully the ships don't rotate so that that docking port is no longer facing us. Good, 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 good. How does this look from the other ship? That's awesome. Keeps the autopilot going even when I'm not actually on that particular ship. Rotate this thing. Uh-oh. Excellent. Why are we backing up? Alright, autopilot, you want to be like that? Fine. Do this manually then. For now. Good. There we go. Excellent. This all looks good. That's a bit off. Excellent. Excellent, that's good. Good, good. And not quite docked. There we are. We are docked. We are docked. And that's after an hour and 3 minutes of video recording. Alright. Oh, how about that? We actually chose the docking port that was directly over our... That was right on the tank we need to refill. So a quick save, just in case opening our solar panels again accidentally crushes these two. Oh, doesn't look like it will. No. They are good. Excellent. They're good. Anyways. Time to shut down this engine. Alright, let's get this refueling underway. Oh, I don't want to refuel the cannon box. I don't want to refuel the ammunition boxes. There we go. Excellent. We are now completely full of fuel on Warship 1. Now, how are we doing for RCS fuel here? I'll bet they can spare some of theirs, and I know we can spare some of ours. There we go. Now, the last thing we need to do is take Warship 1 for a spin. But of course we can't do that with these attached. First order of business, disable the crossfeed and undock. Now back here to this one, or, oh yeah, that one. Say bye-bye to your home, Jeb, or to your old home. It's time to, oh, it's time to say goodbye to it, and leave. And undock. Warship 1 is free. Phil Kerman, you are good to go. Let's make sure all our clampotrons are secured. They should be, but there might be some open from the previous fueling missions. Oh, there's one. There's one. Any others? No? Good. Then, without further ado, we'll close our solar panels. We will activate the engine. Oh wait, no we won't. Yes, we will. We are now bringing the ship about to see if we can't change its orbit a bit. That'll be its first its first test. Yeah, its first test voyage. Not necessarily its maiden voyage. I was thinking we'd send it to the moon for that one. But all right. Excellent. Let's fire this thing up. Doing too bad on the fuel. Let's see where 30 seconds puts it. We'll leave it burning for 30 more seconds. See where that puts it. Oh, it's doing pretty good for fuel efficiency. It's not doing badly for putting itself into a new, for adjusting orbit a little. I think that's enough. Well, in future versions of the ship I may have to give it 2 engines on the back, or maybe 3. Not sure how that would work, though. Hang on. Got it, the phone's ringing. Right, sorry about that. Phone call. I'll have to edit that out, I think. No, I'll edit that out in final editing here. Anyways, yeah. So, Warship 1. Good engine. Maybe not the best. Maybe the mainsail would have been better in space. Maybe. I'll have to try that at some point. Launch another one of these and try it out with a mainsail, perhaps. But not today. That won't be this. We are done with Warship 1. For now, anyways. Maybe we'll do more videos with it in the future. Maybe not. I don't know. But we're done with it. The only thing left to do... Oh, that was weird. Sorry about that. The game stopped running for some reason. And, well, obviously the video stopped recording automatically. Anyways, as I was saying, yes, there will be, for the moment, no more videos about Warship 1. We are done with Warship 1. So, now, the only thing left to do, well, actually, I want to rename this thing because for some reason it keeps thinking it's the Warship 1 propulsion launcher lander. That's not what it is. It's not a lander. It's a ship. Warship 1. Okay. Good. Now we are done with that. We shall switch to this now, because the only things left to do with this, or do here, is drop these into the atmosphere. And land them at home. Excellent. Now, I think that'll be good. Probably. Shall separate now. And now, let us time warp until we actually land in the atmosphere. We'll time warp this. Okay, I think that was something exploding on the other part of it. Yeah. I can't see where the other part of it is, or if it's even there anymore. Hopefully we've slowed down enough that these two parachutes can open. There we go. time warp to our landing in the water. We'll worry about recovering them later. For now, we've got to bring this thing back. With Bob. Hang on. Another phone call. Sorry about that. Phone call. I'll have to edit that out now. Think that'll do. Alright, we'll drop that. Excellent. And now, time warp. There's the tank. Coming down near a lake. I'm going to play shoots now, since coming down over land in this game, you can never be sure of just how high the land you're landing on actually is. And this is looking more than a little hilly. Oh yeah, we're over the highlands. We're over Kerbin's Highlands, so yeah. We definitely want to have our parachutes open already. There's no telling how high these highlands are until we actually land on them. And that's it. We're down. We are done with our Warship 1 videos. Oh, we just have to recover one. Excellent. Alright. Well, that's the end of this video. This is ShadowKey392, hoping you enjoyed that. Please like, share, favorite, subscribe. And, well, stay tuned for the next video, in which we'll be doing something rather cool, I think. Something called submarine.